Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're going to make this guy today. It's my ballerina bunny, so you're going to need some tulle. These shoes are all crocheted. The arms are crocheted on, the legs are crocheted on, and the ears are all crocheted on. I got some tulle at the top for a bow. This video is going to be long, so I decided to put chapters in it, and the chapters will be listed in the description box below with the timestamp. Let's jump right into this. So we start off with red because that's going to be my shoe color, so whatever shoe color that you're going to have. We start off with a magic ring. We put 6 single crochets in there. Round 1 is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So after the first stitch, that's where your marker goes, not the second stitch. Round 2 is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat that all the way around. For the next 6 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what my 6 rows gets me. Now I'm going to change excuse me. Now I'm going to change to my rabbit color, which for me is brown. So I'm going to back out of half this stitch here because I like to do my color change in the stitch before. So I'm going to get my brown and I'm going to finish my last red stitch with my brown. So I take my brown straggler and I just tie it to my red. I am not going back to red, so red's just going to get weaved in a bit and then cut off. I don't want to really have to worry about anything coming undone, and that's why I do what I do. So shove everything down in there. So this is what your slipper is going to be. Your little ballerina slipper. So after you change your color, your next row is going to done. Actually, I'm not going to weave in my red, that's why I tied it. Your next round is going to be done in the back loops only. So these are your back loops. They're standing right up. Don't need to turn anything over. I want you to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. You still have 18 stitches in the back loops only. We're going to be using the front loops for something else. And it will help separate your shoe from your leg. Now, We are going to be coming back to the red to do a little border around the shoe, but for now you can just snip it off. We aren't going to need it for the rest of the project. We will reattach later to do what I want to do around the top of the shoe. So let's just continue with the leg. Your next round is going to be, which is going to be round 10, it's going to be 4 single crochets decrease. You're going into the whole stitch. This bunny is going to be a lot bigger than my other bunny because I'm using different yarn. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then I'm going to do invisible decreases, and that's going to be done in the front loops only. So go into your front loop first stitch, go into your front loop in the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, finish the stitch. You don't have to do that. You can do your regular decrease if you're not comfortable with that. So do that all the way around, and this will give you 15 stitches when you're done. So for the next 24 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches. So hopefully you have a row counter like me, or some way of counting, and I will see you on the other side. Don't forget to stuff as you go. So this is my 24 rows. So you can fasten off at this point, and I'll show you what I'm going to do down here. We'll complete this leg in its entirety. Then I'll leave you with the pattern on the screen to go make your other one. So you're going to need your red again, because I'm going to put a border on the bottom of this shoe just to make it look like a, ballerina shoe. So let's fasten off. These legs are being crocheted into the bunny, just like the arms and the ears. So you just need a little bit of a sewing tail. You don't need like a huge pile. I do want you to kind of go through the next stitch backwards and then pull this through. It just makes this part look better. So, let me take my thing off. Let's get a red and reattach. So this is my favorite trim stitch, and I thought I would use it at the top of the shoe because it is such a cool, such a cool stitch. So first of all, reattach before we start. So you can reattach any which way you want. If you wanted to do a single crochet, I'm just going to reattach with a single crochet. So I'm going to go back into the same stitch to start my stitches, but I want you to pull up a little bit on that. So make your loop on your hook a little loosey-goosey. Go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop. Pull that up too, so extended stitches. You're going to twist, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through that twist. But as long as you pull up on everything properly, it's not going to be tight. So pull up on this loop before you go into the next stitch. So you're going into the front loops of when we did the back loops. That's what you're going into. And that's why we did that. So pull up a loop and extend it. So pull up, twist it, and then finish the stitch. Pull up on that loop. So the most important part about this stitch and how It affects how it looks too. Is pulling up on this loop will affect what this looks like, as well as make it a lot easier for you to twist it and then pull through. So that's the important part of the stitch, pulling this loop up. Not necessarily the other one, but you still need to pull the other one up to get the height. So, easy peasy stitch. I want you to do all the way around in those front loops. And this makes it really look like a little ballerina slipper. So when you come back around, and I know this, because we're doing an amigurumi, this is higher, but you won't even notice it after. So there's not really a stitch you can get into here, except for that first initial stitch that we did. So I'm gonna go into that, which is right there. You can go anywhere you want, actually. I gotta pick up a couple more pieces, so maybe not. Do your slip stitch. Sorry, I can't seem to stay on camera when it's zoomed in like this. So fasten off. We're going to tie these two together. So just need a little bit of a tail. So take these two. We're going to do a very tight double knot. And then we're going to weave. And pull down on that, and you won't see that knot. We're going to do the same thing with this guy, but we're going to come in from the other side. So come in from this side and out and pull down. So you'll never see that knot. And then you get this, so it just looks like a ballerina shoe, and then we're going to put little ties. So I had initially wrote down, you can do this as long as you want, but I had initially, get my brown out of the way. I have such dry skin. The yarn is sticking to me. So, 27 inches is what, I mean, you don't need to be exact, but I did 27 inches. Get the right side here. Of, so that's 27 inches there. And I cut that. You're going to need 2 of these, one for each leg. So I'm going to zoom out just a titch. So lay your 27-inch thing down just so it's even. Make sure that this is on the side, no matter what side it is, just make sure it's on the side, because this will be the front of your leg. So you still have to tie this to the other leg, so it needs to be on the side. Doesn't matter which side, it just needs to be on a side for when you do this. So now you're going to take this, just make sure this is even. When you pull up, make sure it's even, and then you want to cross them. I know it rolls around, but cross them, swing them around the back, cross them again, so it looks like little ballerina ties, just like that. And then you can flip this over, tie it at the back, and then we'll just weave that in too. So for this, because we're not really sewing it to anything, it's just kind of tied around, I wanted it to be nice and snug. So tie your double knot, and then go into your red and pull this down. So go into your red, pop out the same hole as your other one. So now that's pulled right down, so you can't even tell that it was tied back there. Knot and everything is gone. And then I want you to tie another double knot and then poke this in to the foot. So cut it off, whatever nubbies, leave some nubbies, and then poke that down into the foot. So this shouldn't ever come off. And then your thing's on the side like that. So that's what I want you to do to make it a little ballerina leg. So I'm going to put the pattern on the screen. I will include the twisted single crochet, that's what this is called that we did. And then I'll also include the 27-inch cord for wrapping. So let's get the arms done for to finish off chapter 1. I figured doing chapters is a lot easier since my videos are generally so long. So starting with your rabbit color, we're not doing anything other than the rabbit color for the arms. Most tutus don't have sleeves, they have spaghetti straps, so I didn't put any sleeves on the arms at all. So it's just going to be all brown, white, or whatever color you're doing your bunny in. So I'll come back down here. So you're going to do a magic ring of 6 single crochets in your bunny color. Round 1 is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So same deal. Marker goes in after the first stitch, not the second one. So for round 2 to round 35, you're going to do 34 rows of 12 single crochets. So again, you're going to need your row counter. So you have 12 stitches, you're going to do 34 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is 34 rows. This is what your arm should look like. It's super duper long because it's a long-limbed bunny rabbit. It is the exact same size as your butt or your leg. So it just seems longer, I think, probably because there's no color or whatever on it. So, and it's not as round. The leg is obviously rounder than the arm, which is what you want. So this is 15 stitches. This is 12 stitches. For the arm, we are going to be crocheting the arms on. We're not sewing the arms on. I originally made the bunny by sewing the arms and legs on, like old school, right? Making it easier for possibly beginners and stuff. However, I couldn't stand it, so I ripped it all out, and now I'm building, the way I actually build. And if you're a beginner and you're watching this video, it's not that difficult. You got to try something outside of your norm every once in a while just to be able to see if you can do it. So we're going to cut just a little tail. That's all we need, is just a sewing tail to sew it to each other. Sew it to each other. Sew it to the bunny. So we just need a little bit of a sewing tail. And again, I just kind of want you to go in here and pull this through. It just, when we sew it to the doll, it's just a nicer look. So I'm using my 4mm. We're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Bring it down here. Your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. This will give you 12 stitches. So I'm just going to count, but your marker, if you're using one, if I can get into this stitch, if you're using a marker, it goes in after the first stitch, not the second one. So I'm just going to count to 12, putting 2 single crochets in each. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and this will bring it up to 18 stitches. I'll use my marker for this. I can just count to 18. I'm not setting a very good example. So that's number 1 with your marker, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 24 stitches. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next round and your final increase round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. This will give you 30 stitches. For the next 8 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 30 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 8 rows, this is what it gets. We're not stuffing this, so don't put anything in it. We're not stuffing it, but we are going to do a little pink thing here. So your next row is going to be a decrease row, and we're only going to decrease a little bit, and then we're going to do a few more straight rows and then decrease some more, and then so this one's going to be a 3 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1, that's number 2, and number 3. I'm going to do an invisible decrease, which is done in the front loops. You can do whatever decrease you want. I would suggest an invisible decrease, but again, we're putting pink on part of the one side, so it's not really going to hugely matter, but you just go into your front loop, and then you yarn over, pull through those 2, and then finish the stitch. So that's an invisible decrease. But it's your project, you can do whatever your little heart desires. Let's bring it down to 24 stitches. So now for the next 2 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 2 rows. We're going to decrease, and then we're going to do a lot of rows. So I want you to do 2 single crochet decrease, and this will bring you down 18 stitches. And for the most part, that's what we're going to stick with. So that's number 1, that's number 2, and then your decrease. Mine's invisible again. So that gives you 18 stitches. Again, we're not stuffing this. So for the next 17 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. Now, if you look at the picture again, I'll put it up when I'm done talking here. But if you look at the picture again, if you need your ears longer, or you want your ears to be longer, then you can do more than 17 rows. But ultimately, there is a final step before we crochet it to the bunny. But if you do want longer ears, you're going to have to do more than 17 rows. So I'll put my picture up now so you can make that judgment call, and then my pause screen will go up for the 17 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 17 rows, so that's how long it is. And so if you want it longer at this point before we do the next row, then just keep building 1 single crochet until you have the desired length. Mine on my bunny hang down, you know, part way down the arm, so they're pretty long. I don't have a face on her yet, but they're pretty long. So I can't get it all in. That's the arm. I put extra long arms, like long limbs on the bunny, but they hang down way past, like halfway down the back. So at this size here. So, but if you do want them longer, you want them hang down to her butt or whatever, then you can do it even longer. So we are going to kind of gather the top, so that when we sew it to the head, or we're not sewing it, when we crochet it to the head, it's not this big hole we're putting on there. So we're gonna have to sorry, I had to sneeze. So we have to gather this at the top, and so by doing that, I did single crochet 8 together. You know how we always do 2 together, which is a decrease? Well, this one we're going to do 8 together. So you're going to go in, you're going to pull up a loop in 8 different stitches and pull them up. That's 4. That is 8. So once you've got all your loops on, you're going to yarn over and go through all of them. And then you're going to secure it with a chain 1. So that's how we kind of gather everything before it gets sewn on the head. And then just do single crochets all back around to that chain 1 space. So that's 10 stitches for me. Now this chain 1 space is where you want to fasten off, so go back into that chain 1 space and fasten off, because you want your when you sew it, this is going to be toward the head of or not sew it, crochet it. This will be toward the head. You'll never see it. You'll never see that. So you want to definitely go into that chain one space to fasten off with. So you're gonna only need a sewing tail long enough to actually just sew it to the head. It's not, but not sew it to the head like we do with legs and arms before we crochet them on. So it just needs to be a little one. Probably only going to use about 3 stitches. That's all I used for my other one. And then we can make the, if you're doing pink or white or whatever in between your ears, we'll do that next. It works out actually pretty quick. I chose the moss stitch to do this one, but you can use any stitch you want. You just do regular. I just didn't want the lines. So I used a moss stitch. So you can still see lines. It's just not as noticeable with the moss stitch, and it's pretty simple. So we'll do that next. So the pink for the ears, I used a moss stitch like I already stated. And the moss stitch that I used was a single crochet and a half double crochet, and all you do is alternate back and forth, but I'll walk you through the whole thing. So you want to chain 7. So the moss stitch is a single crochet and then a half double crochet, and you just keep alternating single crochet, half double crochet. So it gets a little tricky when you're doing the ends with decreases and stuff, but like I said, I'll walk you through it. I just use single crochets. So I ended with a half double. You're going to chain 1 and turn no matter what stitch you're on. So for our increase, we're going to put 2 single crochets in this stitch. And then you're going to continue with the moss stitch. So we're going to do a half double, a single, a half double, a single, and then we're going to come to the end and put 2 half doubles in this last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. For the next 5 rows, you're just going to do a moss stitch. So you're just going to, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're just going to alternate. Single, half double, single, half double. And the stitch is so great that even if you make a mistake, you're not going to see it. It's a fabulous stitch. I love it. Sometimes you kind of forget. I mean, you can look at the stitch and see where you're at, because you can see there's 3 bars, or you're going to see 2 bars. So anyway, for the next 5 rows, just continue to do the moss stitch, and I'll see you on the other side. Should have 8 stitches, by the way. So that's my 5 rows. On camera you can see these lines, but in person you really don't see them as prevalent as they are on the camera for some reason. So we're going to start decreasing. So I just used single crochets to do my decreases. I didn't worry about whether I was in a moss stitch situation or not. So let's decrease the first 2 stitches. So you're going to use just a single crochet, and that'll lead you right into a half double. You're going to moss stitch across until you have these 2 stitches left. So the next 4 stitches, you're going to do the moss stitch. You have these 2 left that you're going to just use a single crochet to decrease with. So you're going to do the same thing with the next row. You're going to decrease with a single crochet, just using singles. These next 2 stitches get a moss stitch. So of course you're going to start with half double because you just did singles. And then you're going to do another decrease using single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work. For the next 5 rows, you're going to just do the moss stitch in these 4 stitches. So easy peasy. I'm going to just start this one with the half double. Doesn't matter what you start with though. This is my 5th row. So you're going to decrease these 4 stitches. So the first 2 decrease, so you're just using singles, and then you're going to decrease again. So decrease 2 times. Chain 1 and turn. You got these 2 stitches, and now you're going to decrease those. It just rounds the top off, and then you can fasten off. So fasten off with the sewing tail so you can sew this to your ear. You're going to have to hide this guy, tuck him away. So with the moss stitch, it doesn't matter which side you use. You can use either side. There's still a right and wrong side, I suppose, but it's hard to tell the difference. And obviously it goes in here. Now I didn't make this to go all the way up because you're not going to see all the way up. When we do it on the rabbit, it's going to be hard to kind of show you, but for the most part, when the rabbit is sitting up, his ears are down, right? He looks like this because he's laying down, but I don't have him even either. So when he's laying down, or when he's sitting up, sorry, or laying down, I suppose, his ears just flop down like this. So you really don't see that part. So that's the reason I only went that far. So anyway, put your little thing in here. I like to stretch it out just because it relaxes the stitches and it just looks so much better. Sorry, I don't usually do that on camera, but you know, a lot of people don't stretch out their stitches. It just relaxes them. It just makes the piece of work look better. So I just went in and grabbed the top part. Try not to go all the way through, obviously. Also, please don't take sewing lessons from me. I suck. So keep in mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just say that because I can't sew very well. But it doesn't have to be perfect because it is the inside of an ear. So, and you don't even need to do this part. So that's the inside of my ear. So I just tied a little knot right here. I just used those 2 bars to make a knot. Once I make it tight, and then I come back in here to weave, I am grabbing some of the brown ear as well for my weaving. It pulls that knot in, and nobody will ever know that that knot was there. So again, I'm just grabbing some of the brown to do my weaving in. And there we have it. So, chapter 2, we're going to, and my legs, we are going to sew everything, or crochet everything together. The first thing we have to do is sew these 2 legs together. So, whichever, I'm probably just going to use this guy. So this guy here can just get pulled through. I'll just tuck that down. So, get my needle. So when I put my little red laces on, I made sure that my thing was sitting to the side so that this was at the front. And I implored you to do the same, so hopefully you did that. So make sure that this one's at the front. And then I just used 3 stitches. Pretty sure I did. So you just need to kind of make sure you're even going through. And just however you sew these 2 legs together. So I'm still using my 4mm hook. So with your dress color, you're going to make a slip knot. Make sure you're at the back. This is my front with the 2 X's. I'm going to turn it around and make sure I'm at the back. Going in anywhere, I'm going to go into this stitch. This will be your new marker spot. So wherever you want to go into for your marker spot, maybe I'll go over here. That's where you go. Doesn't matter where, just wherever. So you're going to attach with a single crochet, and that's going to be your number 1 stitch. You're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. Let me zoom back in. For this round, so that's my 1 single crochet, so your next stitch gets an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Now we crochet our legs together. I've got 1 stitch before the other leg. It's kind of a deep stitch because that's where I fastened off on my other leg. So that's my 1 single crochet. I'm going to pop across, that's my sewing spot. I'm going to pop across to this one, and this will be my increase stitch. So it's going to get kind of squishy. Just continue around 1 single crochet increase. So this is my 25th stitch, and that's right before I started sewing. It's another awkward spot. And then I pop across to the next available stitch. For my increase. So I have 42 stitches, which is what I had the last time on my other bunny. It was the same number. So don't worry about this guy, we'll take care of him after. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. We're not increasing a whole lot because it's a ballerina and she's most likely not going to be a chunky monkey. So this is our last increase and it's a 2 single crochet increase. So go into your reattached stitch because we counted that. I have 56 stitches. So for the next 10 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 56 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 10 rows. I'm going to take care of this little guy here. I got stuffing in my legs, so I'm just gonna pop him down into my leg. I'm not gonna go back and forth or anything. So I don't think it's really gonna go anywhere. So that's my 10 rows. The next round we're going to be doing is going to be in the back loops only, because that's where all of this tulle went. So this is why I have this little decorative thing on the dress, is because I attached all this tulle into the back loops or the front loops of this next row. So if you're doing this the same as me, then you're going to want to do the back loops only in this next row, like I'm going to do. So if you do decide that you're doing the tulle just like my bunny has, this is what I bought at Michael's. It's the thin stuff, so you can work with it a lot better. It's called holographic dot tulle, T-U-L-L-E. Nobody knows how to say that word, but this is bought at Michael's. One roll is all I use. So that's for the skirt, and for the little bow thing on her head was all one row, and I still probably have about this much left of the roll itself. So that is what I used for all of this, and it comes in so many different colors, and then this little bow thing on her head. So many different colors. Very, very pretty and easy to work with. So that's what I got, and that's what you're going to need. We are probably going to be doing this off camera. It's very time consuming, takes a lot, but I will tell you exactly what you need for what we're doing. But in the meantime, let's get back to doing our dress. So back loops only. So we need all these front loops. Let me bring it down. I need all these front loops for the tulle to go into. We need, not I need. So all these back ones are what you're going to go into, these guys right there. One in each back loop. So we're not decreasing until, well, we're gonna change to our bunny color, so whatever color you're doing your bunny after this row. So get set up. If you're like me and you change in the stitch prior to, that's what we're gonna do. So after we do 1 single crochet in each of these back loops, we're going to change to our bunny color. So I'll be changing back to the taupe, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 1 single crochet in my back loops only. It leaves this ridge. That's our front loops we'll be getting into later. So I haven't finished my last stitch yet because I'm going back to my taupe. So I'm going to finish that stitch with my new color. So This next round is going to be 7 single crochets and a decrease. And you're going to have 2 extra stitches at the end. This whole row will bring you to 50 stitches. When your decrease is done, you're going to have 2 extra stitches. Just put 1 single crochet in each of those, bringing you up to 50 stitches. And then I want you to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And then we'll meet back here and I'll show you how to do the tulle. So you're going to do 7 single crochets and a decrease. Oh, I'm stuck already. That's my 7 single crochets. And then I'm going to do an invisible decrease. So front loop and front loop, yarn over, pull through, finish the stitch. So continue with that, do your 1 single crochet after, follow all the prompts on my pause screen, and I will see you on the other side. This is my 50th stitch. I'm not going to finish it with my brown. We're going back to the dress color. So I'm going to finish it with my red. And then I'm going to put 1 stitch in and then we're going to get to the tulle. I just want to make sure everything is nice and secured. So that's my stitch marker spot for my next row. Put a stitch marker on your loop so that it can't get pulled out, and we'll start with the tulle, and I'll tell you the size that you need to cut and everything involved with that. So this is the row that I used before, so that's all I have left. It's so hard to see, isn't it? Let me zoom out, maybe you'll see it better. So that, run my hand along it, is what I had left from the roll. So you can probably still find something to do with it, but 1 roll is all you need. And I don't know how much it was. I don't remember now. Like, I don't know, $5.90. I don't know how much it was. I'm in Canada anyway, so my prices will be different. So let's open this up. I just scored the tape because I wanted to keep the label, but you can open it any way you want. Oh, my scissors stuck, apparently. Oh, I think I went too deep there. Well, I wanted to save the label, but apparently I'm not doing that. Okie dokie. You're going to need a measuring tape, which is why I have a measuring tape. And a decent pair of scissors. Longer ones would be a little more beneficial to you, but I don't have my longer ones. My longer ones. Alright, so these are heavy duty, but I just want the length because, I mean, you can use scissors like this, which I did my last one, but you're like, cut. It's a lot of cutting. So I measured each piece at 8.5 inches long. Get rid of that. So you don't need to be specific. I would just cut the 1 piece so you have an idea of the length. But if you don't find it long enough, then you can do whatever you want. So I didn't measure it every single time. You need 27 of these. So go ahead and cut your 27. And then we take them all and we cut them all in half. That's my 27. This row obviously, or this roll, I keep saying row, this roll obviously didn't have what my last one had because I'm already out. That was my 27th one though. So if I wanted to do a bow on the head, I probably just use the rest of this white stuff, I imagine, since that is the end of it. So just make sure it's stacked properly, and then you're going to cut all of this in half. Now this doesn't have to be uniform, it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's tulle. So cut them all in half. See why I needed my bigger scissors? So now we begin. Take your dress, I'm going to bring you back down. So you're going to take your little piece. This might be hard to see because it's not going to be stacked anymore, but it is red, which is why I chose to do this. So just kind of grab it and fold it. Make sure you fold it in half, just like you would do hair. And that's how we're going to do it if you've ever done hair. So you're going to go in, you're going to pick up your front loop from when we did our back posts. You're going to wrap the tulle around your hook and you're going to pull through. Now some of these sequences that are in this can get kind of stuck. You might have to pull, but you're using acrylic yarn. You won't have to worry about it breaking. If you're using another type of yarn, then there might be some concern. And then just kind of use your finger and pull that so it's tight. So just like you're putting hair on. Now you're probably going to lose some sparkly things, but, and that is all I did, and I didn't skip a stitch. I did all 50 stitches. So you got 50 stitches. 27 and 27 is 54. So you should have, actually maybe that's why I said 27. I'll have a couple of pieces left over to do the bow, so I should be able to do the bow because I only have 50 stitches. Sometimes it's tight to knot down, but if you wanted to do every other one, you can do that too. It's completely up to you. It's your project. So I got a couple of stitches left. I had to miss some because we did our back loops when we had 56 stitches, and we did 54 of these all together. So I had to skip a couple. I just did it at the back here. I just did it just right over here. So my math, I probably had the right count until I changed my pattern. Sometimes that happens when you design your own stuff. So I'll just use the white for the little bow on the top, or I'll just buy some more red. I have red, it just doesn't have the sequins in it, so I'll just buy more of the stuff with the sequins in it. So this is my last stitch. So going to be awkward for the next few rows because this stuff will get stuck on everything. So, I split a nail. So, to make your life easier, find something, elastic or something, to tie this down so that you can work in peace, because this will become super annoying. So I'll just use a piece of yarn. We won't be putting stuffing in this for a couple of rows anyway, and then you won't be able to, well, you'll still tie it around the legs if it's as long as mine is. So, let's do the decorative thing around. So we're going to ignore this up here. We're going to use the front posts of the next row to do our next stitch. So that's what we're going to use. So it's right above. This is all where my ties are. There's a stitch that I skipped because I didn't have enough. There's the other one. So I skipped two. Right there and right there. And you won't notice it in the skirt part. And then when I do my border, you won't notice those two skipped stitches. But that's because I had 54 pieces and I had 56 stitches. So all these front posts are what we're going to be working into on our next round. Our next round is like a it is and it isn't. It's like a oh gosh, what do you call it? It's like a crocodile stitch. So I need red, but I got red attached here. So if you have another ball, that's great. Or if you do what I do and you spin little cakes, you could just take from this part of the roll. So that's all I'm going to do for this next round. That's the greatest part about spinning cakes, is you can use both ends, the middle and the outside. So we're going to make a slip knot and we're going to reattach. So where's my back? I'm going to reattach at the back. You should always reattach at the back. So going into the post, so the post literally right above all your ties, like that's how close you're going to go. You're going to go into that. You're going to attach using a single crochet. So the crocodile stitch that I chose to do is going to be 3 double crochets on this post. It's sort of a crocodile stitch. A crocodile stitch is doing exactly what I'm going to do, but it's usually done using a V stitch. I'm just using posts, so that's the difference. So if you already know how to do a crocodile stitch, that's what I did all the way around. I skipped 2 stitches in between. This is the next post I'm going to use. So for this post that I'm on, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So I'm using the red post, not the brown post. And then I'm going to turn my work this way. So there's my 3 double crochets. The next post is right here, this red one. That's the next post. So I'm going to, and it's awkward, I'm just going to hold this down with my thumb. I'm going to pull up on my loop and I'm going to yarn over. And I'm going to come in from this direction into my post, like that. Yarn over, pull it up, and do your double crochets, 3 of them. So you can kind of tighten it down now. Once you get that first one in there, the other 2 just go in no problem. And that's what I did all the way around to hide all these ties. So turn it back the normal way. you're going to skip 2 posts. So you're going to skip that post, you're going to skip that post, and you're going to go into this post. Sorry, yarn over and go into the post and do 3 double crochets. No chaining or anything. Now turn it around so you can get to the other post from this side. Take your finger, hold that down. It's just easier. Yarn over, come from this side, and pick up that post. Oops. Pick up that post. Let's make sure I have the post. Pick up that post and do your 3 double crochets. So it's awkward, but it works. All in the way you hold your mouth. Let's do some more so you can see what the outcome is, so you know whether you want to do it or not. We don't chain in between this. We're not chaining or anything. So skip 2 posts. Yarn over, go into your 3rd post. Trying to stay on camera. 3 double crochets. So you're going in this way with these posts. And then when you turn it, you got to go in the other way. Turn to the side. Hold that down with your finger. Just take your thumb and pop up that post from underneath. It's easier. Go in, grab your post, and do 3 double crochets. I make it look easy because I've done this stitch a lot. Just using posts and not V-stitches. I did with my whole mermaid pencil case. So, oh, I just dropped my ball. I forgot I can't just pull on my ball. So that's what you're going to do, and that's going to be what it's going to look like around the top. So it hides all these ties underneath here. So, and you're going to have to pull this back to find the post that you skip, and then go into this one. So once the stitch is in there, they actually look like they're fairly close. And it doesn't look like you've skipped anything, but it's a big stitch. But it hides stuff. So continue to do this all the way around. And I will see you on the other side, where we're probably going to be the end of chapter 2. So I am on my last half, my backwards half of my crocodile stitch. I'm all twisted and everything's stuck to my tulle. So there's 2 posts left, but I'm not going into them because I was doing the skip 2. You can just kind of fold down your stitch. I would go right into the stitch, and I don't know, maybe not into that, but around the post to do your fasten off on top of that stitch. So it looks even. I'm going to take my straggler and my what I just fastened off with and tie it in a knot. And then I'm just going to weave up underneath this and down into the butt part, but I'm just going to come up in here because I haven't put any stuffing in yet, so just be careful how tight you pull that. I just pulled that way too tight. So that's it for chapter 2. You can stuff this guy And then when we come back, I will finish. We will start building his body. So just make sure you keep this on your loop just so nothing happens to it. And that's the back of my doll. Let me show you the front of my doll. So that's the front. So we're done the hard part. This was the hardest, longest part of the entire bunny rabbit. So when we come back, we've already done our little thing. We're gonna start our little belly top, our crop top for the ballerina outfit, and work up into doing his head and crocheting the ears on. That'll be chapter 3. And then I think I might just leave I put a chapter 4 in there for the face, which I finally completed. In chapter 1, I hadn't yet done my face, but that's the face. I finally got it done. It was big decisions on what I was going to do with the face. So I used pink for the brows instead of black, because black against the white was just horrendous. Sticks out a lot like that, and that's fine for his mouth, but this was eyebrows, so, and the little lashy eyebrows, so I didn't want to do black. So I chose pink for my white one, but I will probably be using black for my for this guy because he's brown. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing in the upcoming chapters. So I'll see you there. So you take your little stitch marker off your loop. We are using red for a while. So I would cut off this brown. I tied mine, so I don't really need to weave mine in. So I'm just going to cut it off with a tail. We're going to add it later, but for now we're going to do multiple rows of our dress color. So I'm still going to weave in this little tail here, but I don't have to go far because I tied it. So come back down here with me, and this round with your dress color again is going to be a decrease round followed by a 1 single crochet in each stitch round, 6 single crochet decrease, and then I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each. So this is number 1 where our marker is. That's my six single crochets. And then my decrease is still going to be in the front loops only to make it invisible. So I'm back around. That's my 42 stitches, and just like the row before, our decrease before, we have to add the 2 stitches at the end. So just put 1 single crochet in each stitch. So that'll bring it up to 44 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease. The same thing is going to happen. It's going to happen with every row, and I'm not going to stop and explain it. I've explained it twice. You're going to have the 2 stitches. So sometimes when you sew legs together, you just get oddball numbers that nothing divides into. So, and that's why that just happens, and it's no big deal. It's not going to change the look of your rabbit or anything else that you're making. So the next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease plus the 2 extra stitches will give you 38 stitches. And then I just want you to do 9 rows of those 38 stitches, 1 single crochet in each stitch. So this is my 9 rows. I put some stuffing in mine. I had to tie down further for my skirt, but I put some stuffing in mine. So this is what it should look like. It comes in nice with the hourglass shape. So we're going to do another decrease, and then we're gonna sew our arms on. So your next decrease is going to be 4 single crochet and a decrease. So I am done my row, and now it's time to put the arms on. If you feel like this is in the wrong spot, just move it a couple stitches over a new marker place. It's not going to be that huge of a deal. I don't think mine is. I'm going to sew my first arm to that spot and then match the other one. That way I don't have to move my marker. Hopefully it's in a decent spot. So all you get to do is take your arm, thread the needle, figure where it's going to go, and I know it's difficult to kind of see what I'm doing, but kind of find the middle where you think the middle might be. I think mine might be here. Yeah, that's not too horrible. And then you just whip stitch. So again, I'm going to use 3 stitches. It always seems to be nice and safe just to use 3 stitches. Oops. Sorry, hard to see what I'm doing and film at the same time. I'm trying to show you. Can't see. One more in the middle to make my knot. So give that a wiggle. That tightens your knot right down. So there's my one arm. The arms do seem exceptionally long because I figured, and they're pliable. But they're as long as the legs. You just can't, now that the dress is on there, it makes the legs look shorter, but they are actually the same size. So I'll get your other arm on. This is the tricky part. Trying to get them all matchy-matchy. But if your arms aren't exactly matched, it'll just look like the body's turned a wee bit. It's not going to be a huge, great big deal unless you're that OCD about it. So I think mine might be alright. It's hard to tell at this stage. I didn't put stuffing in mine. Might be easier for you if you put stuffing in yours. And now all I want you to do is do 1 single crochet all the way around. And we're still using the red. That is how I got this look off the shoulder dress, is by doing it this way. So I'll bring you back down a little bit. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then we'll start decreasing again and change back to our bunny color. So I will see you on the other side. You should have, I wrote down 52 stitches, but I don't know how many stitches you used. Your numbers may or may not be the same. So we'll find out when I come back. I'll just show you how to do the arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta remember to count at the same time. So you got to make sure you go into the last stitch available, and then you pop over to the first stitch available here. You can use the same spot that you sewed into. That'll cut down on any holes that might happen. Oh, I got my stuffing all jacked up in there. And then you just follow the arm around. So that's what you're going to do to the other side as well. And when you come back around, you're going to be using the last stitch available in the arm and then the first stitch available, which could be the sew space. So just continue doing that, and I'll meet you right back here. So I'm back around and mine is 52 stitches, so I'm still on board with what I was doing. I shared my stitch space with my sew spaces, so you may have done yours differently, and that's okay. It's not wrong, it's just different. So just know your numbers are not going to be the same as mine. So you can stuff this if you want, but it is going to get quite awkward if you do. So you can always stuff later. Your next round is going to be a decrease round. So I want you to do 3 single crochets and a decrease. And this is probably going to be 10 stitches we get rid of. So should be at 42 when we're done this. We'll see. So that's number 1. That's number 2 and number 3. And then your decrease. So it's quite aggressive. Like I said, you should probably get 10 rounds anyway. And then after you're done, I just want you to do 1 single crochet in each of those stitches. So this is my 42nd stitch. I did not complete it because I want to go back to my rabbit color. So I'm going to finish that last stitch with my rabbit color. So I'm just going to tie my straggler to my red. And now you can't see me. I pulled my camera, pushed my camera back because of the legs. So I just tied my red and my straggler, so I don't have to weave in at all. I will cut my red off though with a tail, just to be on the safe side, just so that knot doesn't work itself out, because everything gets tucked down in there with stuffing anyway. So we're going to continue with our decreases, and still your decreases, you're going to end up with that the 2 stitches, and we're going to end up with that all the way through. So I just want to reiterate. And your next rounds, because we're going to do the 1 single crochet in each stitch, but your next decrease round, you're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease plus the 2 extra stitches. That gives you 32 stitches, and I just want you to do 1 single crochet in each of those 32 stitches. So the next 3 rows are going to be decrease, and then 2 rows of just single crochets in each of whatever number you get. I'm going to put all my numbers on the screen, don't worry about it. And then we're going to start increasing for the head. So everything is sewn, everything is crocheted on, nothing is sewn on. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. When you stuff this, you got to make sure you're getting right into this shoulder area. It's the same thing with the legs. You had to make sure, I didn't mention it, but I'm sure you all know how to stuff stuff. That's going to work out well in my translation. So I did not get my arms straight, so it looks like my body is slightly turned a bit, but that's okay. A lot of my dolls, I used to purposely turn their head. This will look like the head's turned slightly. I'm okay with that. Nothing I can do about it now anyway. So we're going to start making the head, which means we're going to start increasing. So your very first increase is going to make, all these increases are going to make it squishy. This one's going to be a 1 single crochet increase. Oops. I hate when my yarn does that. I keep putting my marker over there for some reason. That's my 1 single crochet. And then my increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So I have 33 stitches. So your normal consensus would be, well, you should have 32 stitches. We always carry those 2 stitches the whole entire length of our decreases. We carried the 2 stitches. Once we went into our increases, those 2 stitches became the 1 single crochet increase. It all fit. So you have an extra stitch. Do you understand? So your number should be 33 stitches and not 32. Trying to get back on track with the numbers, and it kind of did it for us. So you shouldn't have the 2 extra stitches anymore. Your next increase is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So you should have 44 stitches. Everything's going to increase by 10. Everything. So your next round is going to increase by 10. So we're able to do our increases 10 times around. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. And this is going to be our last increase round. So it's pretty wavy. It won't stay like this, don't worry. For the next 10 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 55 stitches. And then we'll start decreasing again. And in the process of that, we'll crochet our ears on. So 10 rows. 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my 10 rows. That's what it should look like. So we're going to start decreasing now. So nothing on the face has to go on. Like, we're not doing safety eyes or anything. We're going to do a few rounds of decreases, 4 to be exact, and then we're going to crochet on the ears. That's the plan. And then once we're done the head, that'll be the end of chapter 3. So our first round of decrease are going to be 8 single crochet decrease. So just to let you know, this is my 8 single crochet decrease as far as I can go. I cannot get another decrease in here. So these last 5 stitches, you're just going to put a single crochet in each of them, and this will bring you up to 50 stitches for this row. And that's the way that the decreases are going to work all the way down. You're going to have 5 extra stitches. So your next round is going to be 7 single crochets and a decrease. So, you get the gist of what we're doing with your 5 stitches here at the end and everything. So, to make the video shorter, I'm going to put your next 2 decreases up, and then I'll meet you back here after. So, your next one's going to be 6 single crochet decrease plus your 5 single crochets with my counts, and then the one following one after that is 5 single crochets. So we're just counting down in order. So do your next 2 decreases and I will meet you back and we'll get the ears done. So I am done my 5 single crochets decrease. You should have 35 stitches. These ears, find my sewing needle. There it is. Okay, these ears, the part that we gathered right there is the part that goes toward the head. That's why it's on the same side as the pink. So, how we sewed our arms on is the same way we're going to sew our ears on. And again, if you have to change the, I'm going to put some stuffing in mine before I do this because it might be a little difficult to see where it's going if it's not stuffed. So, you can do whatever you want. But that would be my suggestion. Might make your life a little easier. And make sure you're getting down into that neck area because you don't want a wobbly neck. You don't want a huge neck either. So once you kind of got an idea of, I mean, it's not completely full, but it gives me an idea of where I want my ears to be. So you can have your ears anywhere you want. I put mine more toward the back. The decreases are going to pull it up a little bit, so just be aware of that. But I wanted mine to kind of hang down behind the back a little bit. I don't know if I want to go that far back, but anyway, this is going to be hard to do on camera. I'm going to do my best, but I don't think you really need me to show you what I'm doing on camera. See if I can make my dolls sit down for this. So again, it's the same concept that we did last time. You're going to just use 3 stitches. And yeah, I crisscross them like that because I feel it gives a better hold. So once you've got your stitches in there, I'm just gonna pull that down there, stick my stuff in there. So it's not a great big hole you have to crochet around. It's a little tiny thing. It is awkward though. I made this one a little bit longer, so we can finish stuffing it after. We're going to keep decreasing though, so your next round isn't going to be 1 single crochet. It's going to be jumping right into the other decrease. So again, that makes it a little awkward around the ears, but hopefully you can just kind of go, I guess you're not. The next decrease is going to be a 4 single crochet decrease. So this is going to all change your numbers again because we've just sewn on more stuff. So, but that's what happens when you sew on stuff. Your numbers are weird, your numbers change. It's just what happens. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets. And then I got stuck on my dress. And then your decrease. So continue to do this all the way around. I'll show you how to do the ear in a second here. And I'll put my counts, 2, 3, 4. I can't count and talk at the same time. Put my counts up on my pause screen when we get to the pause screen. And I'm probably going to put your next decrease up there. Just because I want to make the video shorter and you already know what you're doing. So this is number 1. I'm going to pop over to my shared stitch space and make that number 2, 3, and 4. And then my decrease is on the side of my ear, so that's not too bad. Hopefully my next one. Now this is where the problem is. Everything gets stuck to your dress. Mine's still kind of partially tied down. So it's quite awkward. If you have a table, I would suggest getting a table, even though he's starting to slip on me here. So it's very, very awkward. So this is my 4th stitch. So I got to do my decrease right where I split my head and my ear. So sorry, that was my phone. So I'm going to do my front loop decrease here, and then I'm going to pop over here, and the first available stitch I'm going to do my decrease. So probably going to be a tight spot. And then if that was awkward, hopefully yours isn't too bad. And then I'll just continue. So I'll meet you on the other side. So this last decrease, I had only 4 extra stitches, and I'm at 36 for my count. So your next round, before we continue our decreases, is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 36 stitches. Try not to overstuff the head. It can be difficult because there's lots of room, but we are sewing a face on that. Just make sure it's round. Sometimes you can get a flat back. So your next 2 rounds are going to be both decreases. You're going to do a 2 single crochet decrease and then a 1 single crochet decrease. And then this will literally be the end of chapter 3. So that's number 1. That's number 2. Oh, I'm stuck. And then your decrease. So you see how the front of my face, you can't really see where I've been decreasing. I mean, you kind of, if you look at it in the wrong angle, the wrong light, but for the most part, those invisible decreases are pretty good. Anyway, continue to do this all the way around, not getting your stuffing in there. I'm going to put both things on my pause screen, and I will see you on the other side. So you should have 18 stitches. I gotta take my tie off because it's not actually tying my dress down anymore. but we're just about done, so I don't think I really need it. So, my head needs to finish getting stuffed, and then we're gonna cinch this closed. So, I don't need this attached anymore. You can fasten off. We're doing a large hole cinch because it just looks better in my opinion. If you don't agree with me, you can do another round of 1 single crochet decrease if you want. It's up to you. I like the look of a larger hole. So you just need a cinch tail and a weaving tail. So we're not stuffing the ears at all, so try not to shove any stuffing up there. It'll give you a funny look if you try to do that. But again, it's whatever you want to do. It's your project. That's just a suggestion. My hook. Everything's stuck to this dress. I like the tulle, but things get stuck to it very easily. So, my ears are... My head's going to look like it's turned, but that's okay. So I initially did that by sewing my arms on wrong, and then my ears I didn't sew on quite right either. So make sure this is kind of really stuffed, because we're going to pull down on this, and you don't want any waves in your head to look funny. So, hopefully mine's stuffed right. It's hit or miss, I suppose. It's hard to tell sometimes. So again, we're just going to cinch it. We're going to use the front loop. And I'm going to skip a stitch because it's hard to get into. Front loop in, front loop out. So we're going to do that all the way around. And you can, if you want, skip a stitch because it's a large hole cinch, so it's not going to make a big difference. It's completely up to you. So I'm all the way back around. So pull it tight. That pulls your ears up. That's why I said don't put any stuffing in there, because it'd just make it look funny. Give this a wiggle, and that'll close that right up. My doll is slipping. So now I'm going to go across this way and make another knot. Give it a wiggle. And then you can weave. So they say 3 different directions. I just weave wherever, but just make sure you're going in right next to where you came out, so it looks like a stitch. But that's what your top's gonna look like. Oh good gosh, I just feel that the large close at the top is a lot better. So my head is totally turned. As far as the bow that I did for the head, there's really no rhyme or reason. I'm just gonna take what I've got left of this roll. I'll do the white, not the pink. It doesn't really matter to me. So I'm just gonna take what I have. Again, I didn't write down a measurement. I didn't write anything down. I'm just gonna cut this in half. And then cut it in half that way. So probably about the same size as what I did the dress with. I end up cutting it after I put it on the head, but so I just did the same thing. I go into my top, and I went pretty far into my top, like that's a chunk to pick up. And I pull through it's hard to pull through because of the sequins, but if you're not using sequins, you're probably not struggling. And like I said, I cut this right down after, like the ones on the top, not so much the one at the back. I made the long one at the back on purpose. So pull through wherever you want to. It's hard to do when my doll is slipping all over the place. And save a couple for the back that are going to be long. So that can get cut off short. That might have been too short. I might put some red in there. I just have some plain red, so I might put some red in there. You've got 2 pieces left if you got as much as me. You can just do the long pieces at the back. But I'm going to do 2 more short pieces of this stuff, and then I'm going to use red for my long pieces at the back. So this is, anyway, I'll do that off camera. This is the end of chapter 3. So chapter 4 is just going to be the face, the muzzle, and then the face. So I will see you in chapter 4. So we need to first start with our muzzle. So get your rabbit color. You're going to do a magic ring of 6 single crochets. We're still using our 4mm. You are going to need a safety nose. I have a little pink one here. I was going to use brown, but he's got pink on his ears, so, and he's already got a brown muzzle, so. Oh, again, what are you doing way up there? Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So again, after the first stitch, that's where your stitch marker goes. That is my 12 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 18 stitches. We're doing normal numbers again. I think this far into the video I don't need to explain what an increase is. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 24 stitches, and that's as much as we're increasing. We're not going any more than that. So that's as big as we're going, and right now you're probably looking at it going, wait a minute, why is that so small? Trust the process. For the next 3 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. Now this is going to widen it out, but bunny rabbits don't really have that big of a nose. It's not like we're making a bear or, you know, something that where it needs to be wider. So do your 3 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is my muzzle, as small as it looks right now. This is going to make him look like he has cheeks, which you want on a cute little bunny rabbit. Anyway, you're going to need a sewing tail, but you probably knew that. So let's do our stuff. So on my guy here, this is what I did. See how his muzzle is so small? It's the same size. It looks like he's got these cheekies. You don't want to take up too much room, right? We had to put our safety nose on. And then we're going to do this. These whiskers we can do after we sew the eyes on. We don't have to do the whiskers now. So, I didn't put it right in the hole. I put it up here for my safety nose. The arrow pointing down. If you can get it centered without making another hole, then put it there. It doesn't matter where you start to sew. But as long as it's centered with this hole and you've got a hole right below it to start making your mouth, then that should be a good spot. Put your back on. So, oh, I might have tightened that a little too much. There we go. You need to get a piece of black. So what you're going to do is you're going to go up through this hole. That's why you wanted a hole right below it, because I think it would look stupid otherwise. You can choose the size of your mouth, just make sure it's even, obviously. I had many different mouths on this, and none of them really suited me, except for a little small one. I had a great big smile, but I mean, it all just seemed to look stupid. So pop out over here, and then you're going to go back down the same hole you just came out, and you're going to pop out evenly, preferably, over here, and then go back down the same hole and out. Oops. Let's pull on the right one here. So that's what I did for my mouth. Put a bigger smile on that for my other one, like I said, and it just looked horrible. I'm going to cut these off. You can tie this in a knot back here just to make sure that, you know, nobody's going to pull your mouth off, but, you know, it depends on who you're giving it to. I doubt anyone's going to come along, but you never know. Some kid could get picking away at something. So you are putting stuffing up here, but you're going to sew it partially around. So put it down. We need room for the eyes. Put it as low as you can for his chin, like down by the neck, because I made some pretty big eyes, and that was done on purpose, because that's what I envisioned when I thought about making a ballerina bunny. I thought about making the big eyes for it. So here's one of the eyes I've already got made. Everything in the way, and the tooling here getting, so my eyes are gonna sit like that, right on top of the muzzle, so you don't have much space up here, and we're doing little eyelash brows type thing. So put it as low as you can on his neck, if that gives you any indication of where mine is. I am not gonna entirely sew this on camera, but because it's just too difficult. But just remember that when you're sewing this on, you need to keep it puffed up like this, because first of all, it helps with where you're sewing it on. I don't think mine's even in the middle, honestly. Nope, it's not. See, I'm already screwed up. I try to aim everything toward the camera, which is above me, and I don't ever get it. I screw up too much doing that. So, anyway, I'm going to sew off camera. But just remember, when you're part way around sewing, you have to put stuffing up there. So, don't sew yourself in and then go, oh crap, I didn't stuff it. So, I'm going to sew mine on and I'll meet you right back here. So that's my muzzle. I think I got it a little crooked. So, slightly turned that way a little bit, but it was hard to get it even because my whole head's turned, because my whole body's turned, because like, look at, when I pick it up you can see the turn. There's my arms, and now my muzzle's crooked. Oh, the kids won't even notice. So eyeballs next. So like I said, this is already my one eyeball. Here, let me tie everything in the back and then I'll show you what it's gonna look like. You can make the decision what you want to use. I used a 3.5 millimeter hook, and some 4-weight yarn, but you can do whatever you want. Actually, the one yarn is a little on the thick side. This blue is a little thicker, but my black is really no thicker. So it's 4-weight, but it's a thick 4-weight. So the eyes basically sit right on top of the nose, like that. Probably not that close. They're going to be further apart. I'm going to put a little white thing in there. But anyway, let's go ahead and make the eye. I just, it works up so fast. Whoa! Everything slides off my table. It works up so fast, and I did use glue when I sewed it on. So if you do have some glue hanging around, I just use this stuff. It's clear, Amazon Basics. I bought like a whole box of 6 bottles for, it's like $6. So get your whatever color you're using, and your 3.5. So with your black, you're going to make a magic ring and 6 single crochets. You could probably come back down here. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. This is going to be with the black. So that's my 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. It's very hard for me to see black. I'm going to have to just guess where my stitches are. So you're going to do it 3 times anyway. If you struggle to see black like me, you're doing it 3 times for your marker. So we're going to change to blue. So this last stitch is going to get finished with your blue color. I'm going to tie my black straggler to my, or my blue straggler to my black with a double knot. Just so it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn So I'm not closing in this spot, I'm going back the other way. So you're gonna have to pull this back. There's a stitch right there you have to get into. I'm barely on camera, sorry. So you're gonna do 3 single crochets in the course of 3 stitches. That's 3 single crochets. In this next stitch, you're going to do 2 half doubles in the same space. So I'm just pulling up on mine a little bit, just because it is a small hook and thick yarn. Your next stitch, you're going to put 2 double crochets in the same space. And the next stitch, you're going to put 2 half doubles in the same space. So we're just shaping the eye when we're doing this. And then you're going to do the last 2 single crochets. You're going to just do a chain 1 here, but that's going to be your fasten off. So you want a sewing tail here, not any of the crap that's hanging off the back. It's just easier that way. Cut your black off with a tail so that you can tie these 2 together as well. And then you can snip this off. I wouldn't go too short because you kind of want to tuck that back there with the glue if you're using glue. And then my little tail, like you saw just on my other eye, I just kind of tucked it up in here. Like that. And cut it off. Leaving a nubby. Always leaving a nubby. So, my other eye. For some reason I left this. So this is what you're gonna look like here. I'm gonna put white in here. We're gonna do white if you want to do a little sparkle in the eye. So this, oops. This was the idea, great big eyes. So you just got to make sure you have the placement right. I don't know if I exactly have the placement right, but you get the idea. Great big eyes on the bunny. I'm going to do just a kind of a glimmer, just so it doesn't look so creepy. Because currently it looks like it's creepy. And we don't want it to look creepy. So you're just going to need a little piece of white for each eye. Like, it doesn't have to be very long. You're just going to tie it at the back. So, you're going to do the opposite. So whatever you do on, like wherever you put it on here, you're going to put it on the opposite side. So just come up through the back and then down wherever, just a stitch over. It doesn't have to be too big of a glimmer. And then tie these 2 together at the back. So I'm going to come in and show you that with my eyes, I pop out the same hole. I do this with just about everything that I do. I pop out the same hole, I tie the knot there. Double knot. I cut it off, leaving nubbies, and I poke it down. That way, if anybody's messing around with your eyeballs, they're going to take both of them. So, of course, my muzzle's crooked, but you get the gist of the eyes. So, to finish off my eyes, I'm going to use black. I used pink in my last one because it just looked better. So, I'm not sure what this one's brown, so it might be a difference. I cut a really long piece for this. And this is the brow lash thing that I like to do. I just started actually liking to do it. Doesn't matter where you come in, it just matters where you pop out. So pop out where, you know, it's not going to look like an angry eyelash. And then just wherever you want your eyelash to be. Yeah. I'm going to move mine over a bit because I think that might look angry. So you don't want it to look angry, you just want it to look pretty. So it's hard to do on camera. So you want to pop over to wherever you want your eyelashes to be. And then you're going to go in there and you're going to pop out. So don't pull tight because that'll go, you want that just to sit above the eye. So go back into this same hole. Go back into the same hole and go out where you want your second eyelash to pop out. Go back into the same hole and go where you want your third eyelash to pop out. So your third eyelash won't pop out until you go back into the same hole and then pop out in a different location. So for now I'm just going to pop out up here, but we have enough that I can come across and do the other side. So that's what I got there for her eyelashes. So now you just got to match it on the other side. So with my same piece, I don't know, maybe it was about there. It's hard to judge. This is the hard part, is just trying to get it even. So I'm pretty sure that I came in about here. It's hard too if you don't sew your eyes on straight. So I'm going to go down the same hole and pop out where I want my second lash to be. Go down the same hole, pop out where I want my third lash to be. And then again, my third lash doesn't show up until I go back up. Am I still on camera? So I go back down the same hole. I'm going to pop out where I started from, the same hole. So try not to pull tight. If you do pull too tight, just come over and pop it back out. Don't want any divots. So you just gotta have to look and make sure that that's, oops, make sure that that's even, Steven. Yeah, it's not too bad. I do like to put a little gobble glue on the eyebrows just to keep it in place, but you don't have to do that. So I'm going to tie these two together in a tight double knot. I'm going to cut it off, leaving a nubby, and I'm going to poke it down. So make sure you poke it way down because it's black. You certainly don't want to see it. And again, if you've just pop your head back out, everything is going to be distorted. There we go. See my red on top? Well, it's supposed to hang down the bottom, but anyway, that's that. And the last thing we got is the whiskers. So you can decide what color you want your whiskers. I think I'm just going to do black for my whiskers because I've got the black. eyebrows and that. Like I said, I like to just put a little bit of glue. It's invisible, so you don't see it, to hold my eyebrows in place. And it's just such a little bit above the eyes. You won't even feel the hardness, because when glue dries it does get hard. But it's such a tiny space just above the eyes. I don't think anybody's fingers would even ever be there. But you never know. So get a piece of whatever color you're using for your whiskers. So we just cut this as we go, just so we know what size we need. So I just got a big long piece again. Go in wherever you want your first set of whiskers to be. I think that's high. And then just pull through. Pull that down till that's about as long as you want your whiskers. You don't want them just kind of hanging around too. Like, you want them to stick up on their own. So I'm not going to go overly long with mine, but long enough. And then just cut it off. We'll do the second set. Now, I didn't do this with my other one. I think I'm going to trim my other one down. The second set of whiskers always seems to be shorter. And that's mainly in cartoon characters or whatever. So just go down right below it. Pull that through. I'm going to make this one a little shorter. Like that. And then I'm going to make the last one a little longer. So there's nothing you can really do about, I think this one's a little long. There's nothing you can really do about gluing these on or in or anything. So they're just going to have to just be. And that, my friends, is our ballerina bunny. Let me zoom out. Our ballerina bunny. So this is what I did. I just took the red, the plain red, and put it at the back like that. So some of the red does stick up. So you can see that through the white. There we go. Our ballerina bunny. All finished. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.